Mama Tolu wiped the sweat from her forehead as she adjusted the basket of roasted corn on her head. The sun was unforgiving, but she had no choice. She had to sell enough to buy food for the night. Tolu, hurry up! She called to her daughter, who sat under a tree reading an old textbook. Tolu, a bright-eyed 14-year-old, looked up. Mama, can I finish this page first? Mama Tolu sighed. Education is good, my child, but hunger does not wait for knowledge. Tolu shut her book and ran to her mother's side. As they walked through the busy streets, Mama Tolu whispered, One day, you will not suffer like me. You will be great, and you will change our story. Tolu smiled. I promise, Mama. Tolu was the top student in her school. Her teachers often praised her, and neighbors marveled at her intelligence. Your daughter will grow far, they told Mama Tolu. One evening, as they sat in their small one-room house, Tolu looked at her mother's tired face. Mama, when I grow up, I will buy you a big house and take care of you. You will never have to sell corn again. Mama Tolu smiled. That is all a mother wants, to see her child succeed. She pulled Tolu close and kissed her forehead. Just don't forget me when you reach the top, she whispered. Tolu laughed. I could never forget you, Mama. I promise. One day, Tolu's school announced a rare scholarship opportunity. It was for students who excelled in their studies, offering them a chance to study abroad. Tolu's heart raced as she read the notice. Mama, I must apply. Mama Tolu clapped her hands in joy. My daughter, God has answered our prayers. Tolu studied harder than ever, and when the results were announced, her name was at the top of the list. You did it! Mama Tolu cried, hugging her tightly. Tolu felt excitement and fear. She had never left home before, but this was her chance to escape poverty. The day Tolu was to leave, the small house was filled with neighbors who came to celebrate. Some brought gifts, a loaf of bread, a bottle of granuts, or even just prayers. Mama Tolu was both proud and sad. As she packed Tolu's small suitcase, she held her daughter's hands. My child, never forget where you come from. Remember, no matter how far you go, home will always be here, she said. Tolu nodded, but her mind was already on the new life waiting for her. At the airport, Mama Tolu hugged her tightly. I love you, my daughter. Tolu smiled. I love you too, Mama. I promise I'll come back soon. When Tolu arrived in the foreign country, everything felt like a dream. The roads were smooth, the air was cold, and the buildings stretched high into the sky. She marveled at the bright lights and the busy streets. Everyone seemed important, moving with purpose. Her new school was grand, with tall glass windows and students who spoke with confidence. Tolu suddenly felt small, her Nigerian accent standing out. That night, as she lay in her comfortable bed, she whispered, I belong here. Tolu quickly made new friends, but they were nothing like the people back home. They dressed differently, spoke differently, and lived lives of luxury. You are from Nigeria? One girl, Emily, asked. Isn't it dangerous there? Tolu hesitated before forcing a smile. It's not too bad. She started changing. Her voice, her mannerisms, even how she introduced herself. Just call me T, she told her friends. She stopped mentioning her mother and home, afraid of being seen as too local. Day by day, she became someone else. Back home, Mama Tolu waited eagerly for Tolu's calls, but they became less frequent. At first, Tolu was always too busy. Then, she simply forgot. Mama, I have assignments, she would say. I'll call later. Later never came. Mama Tolu would stare at her phone, sighing. Maybe she is truly busy, she told herself. But deep inside, her heart ached. Tolu didn't realize that while she was gaining the world, she was slowly losing the person who loved her the most. Tolu's new friends lived lavishly, shopping, eating at expensive restaurants, and traveling during holidays. She wanted to keep up. Why do you dress so simply? Emily asked one day. We should take you shopping. Tolu hesitated. She didn't have the money, but she didn't want to seem different. She started taking extra jobs on campus, using her scholarship money for things she didn't need. The more she changed, the harder it became to look back. Mama Tolu's voice in her head grew fainter. Back in Nigeria, Mama Tolu's health was starting to fail. The stress, the loneliness, the long nights waiting for a call that never came. It was all too much. Maybe she has outgrown me, she whispered to herself. She didn't want to burden her daughter, so she never spoke about her struggles. But every night she prayed, God, don't let my daughter forget me. She did not know that Tolu had already begun to forget. After 2 years, Mama Tolu finally saved enough money to visit Tolu. She called her daughter excitedly. My child, I will be coming to see you. Tolu froze. How could she explain Mama Tolu's simple clothes, her thick accents, her way of speaking? Mama, now is not a good time. She lied. School is very busy. Mama Tolu was silent. Then, in a small voice, she said, Okay, my child. She hung up, staring at the money she had struggled to save. It would never be used. Mama Tolu no longer called as often. The last rejection had hurt too much. Tolu, on the other hand, was too wrapped up in her new world to notice. She had exams, internships, and social events. One evening, she scrolled through her messages. There was one from her mother, sent weeks ago. My child, I hope you are well. I miss you. Please call me when you have time. Tolu sighed. She would call later, but later never came. Tolu stared at herself in the mirror. Her hair was styled differently. Her accent had softened, and her clothes were nothing like what she used to wear. She had become someone new. But why did she feel so empty? At night, she had dreams of roasted corn, the warm sun, and her mother's voice calling her name. Yet, every morning, she pushed the memories aside. One evening, Just as she was getting ready for a dinner party, her phone rang. It was a number from Nigeria. Tolu hesitated before answering. Hello? The voice on the other end was weak. Tolu, it's Mama. Tolu's heart clenched. Mama, how are you? Mama Tolu took a shaky breath. I I just wanted to hear your voice. Tolu swallowed. I've been busy, Mama. I I understand. Mama Tolu interrupted. Just remember, my child, no matter how far you go, a river never forgets its source. Tolu laughed nervously. Of course, Mama. I'll call you soon. Mama Tolu smiled weakly. I will be waiting. But this time, she wasn't sure if she would still be there when the call finally came. Tolu pushed the call to the back of her mind. She had an important internship coming up. But as the days passed, something felt off. She couldn't concentrate. She kept hearing her mother's voice in her head. Finally, she picked up her phone to call Mama Tolu. The number was no longer reachable. A strange fear crept into her heart. Days later, a relative called. Tolu, I don't know how to say this. Mama is gone. Tolu's breath caught in her throat. Gone? What do you mean? She was sick, but she didn't want to disturb you. She waited for your call, but it never came. The phone slipped from Tolu's hands. Her mother was gone, and she never got to say goodbye. Tolu sat in her luxurious apartment, staring at her reflection. Tears ran down her face. She had worked so hard to fit in, to chase success, to become someone new. And in doing so, she had lost the person who mattered the most. She whispered, I promised her I'd come back. But now, it was too late. Tolu booked the next flight to Nigeria. As she stepped off the plane, everything felt different. The air smelled the same. The streets were familiar, but her mother was no longer there. She took a cab to her old neighborhood. Everything looked smaller. The house that was felt so full of warmth now felt empty. She stepped inside, and memories flooded her mind. Mama Tolu singing while roasting corn, her warm smile, her prayers. And now, all that was left was silence. A relative handed Tolu a small envelope. Mama left this for you. With shaky hands, she opened it. My dearest child, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here. But don't cry, my daughter. I lived a full life, and my greatest joy was you. I always knew you would go far. I prayed for your success, but I also prayed you would never forget where you came from. You are strong, Tolu. Never let the world change your heart. And if you ever feel lost, remember, home will always be here. Tolu's tears soaked the paper. She had been running from home for so long, but now she had nowhere left to run. Tolu sat outside their small house staring at the sky. If only she had answered more calls. If only she had visited. If only. But if only could not bring back the past. The neighbors came to console her. Your mother was proud of you. She always thought about you. Tolu broke down. She didn't deserve that pride. She had abandoned the one person who loved her most. Tolu walked through the streets she once called home. Everything seemed smaller, yet the memories loomed large. She made a decision. She would not let her mother's legacy fade. The house, once neglected, was repaired. The old wooden chairs were replaced and the walls repainted. Neighbors watched in surprise. Tolu has returned, they whispered. But this time, she wasn't just visiting, she was here to stay. At night, Tolu lay in her mother's old bed, surrounded by the scent of home. She picked up a faded photograph of her and Mama Tolu from years ago. Tears filled her eyes. I thought success was in the big cities, in the fancy clothes, in the foreign accents. But success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. She held the photo close. For the first time in years, she truly felt at peace. With the money she had saved, Tolu set up a foundation in Mama Tolu's name. It provided scholarships for young girls from poor backgrounds. She spoke at community gatherings, sharing her story. I was once like you, she told them. I left home and forgot where I came from. But now I know. Home is not just a place, it is the people who love you. Her words resonated deeply. She was no longer just Tolu, she was a symbol of hope. One evening, as Tolu sat outside, a car pulled up. It was Emily, her old friend from abroad. She stepped out, looking shocked. Tolu, what are you doing here? Tolu smiled. I live here now. Emily frowned. But why? You had everything. Tolu chuckled. No, Emily. I had nothing. I only found myself when I came back. Emily was silent. For the first time, she had no words. Despite all her efforts, guilt still weighed on Tolu's heart. She visited the cemetery, standing before Mama Tolu's grave. I'm sorry, Mama, she whispered. I should have come back sooner. A gentle breeze blew, rustling the trees. In that moment, she felt something, a warmth, a presence. Her mother's love was still with her. And for the first time, she allowed herself to truly let go. Tolu opened a small school in the community. She named it Mama Tolu Academy. Children, once like her, full of dreams but limited by poverty, now had a chance to learn. As she watched them laugh and study, she smiled. Her mother's sacrifices had not been in vain. She was finally fulfilling the promise she once forgot. One day, an elderly woman approached Tolu. She handed her a small cloth pouch. Your mother asked me to give you this when you were ready, she said. Inside was a simple beaded bracelet, one Tolu had worn as a child. Tears filled her eyes. Her mother had never given up on her, not even in death. Tolu no longer felt the need to prove herself. She no longer needed validation from a foreign land. She had found her true home, not just in the village, but within herself. Every night she whispered, "Thank you, Mama." And somehow she knew her mother was smiling down at her. Years passed. Tolu stood before a class of young girls sharing her story. One of them raised a hand. "Auntie Tolu, do you ever miss abroad?" Tolu smiled. "I miss parts of it, but nothing compares to home." The girls clapped, inspired. She had once been like them. Now she was their guide. One day, Tolu walked to the river where she and her mother used to sit. She threw a handful of flowers into the water. A river never forgets its source. Tolu had once forgotten her roots, but now she had come back, not just in body, but in spirit. She had finally kept her mother's promise, and in doing so, she had found herself. Hello, my lovely viewers. Hope you enjoyed the story, and hope you also learned a lesson or two from this story. If you did, kindly share your thoughts with me in the comment section. And also, please do not forget to click the like button and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Bye.